so many people here today for our fourth Pathways to 100 Forum, ensuring energy efficiency benefits the entire community. I want to thank our forum partners, City of Portland, Pacific Power, Northwest Natural, and PGE. It's been a year since Mayor Ted Wheeler and I hosted an event at the June Key Delta Center to announce what I called a pledge for our children's future. We will take bold steps that correspond with the magnitude of the challenge we face. We are pushing for action because our futures depend on cities and counties blazing a trail that others can follow. Energy efficiency is a crucial part of ensuring that the transition to renewable energy is just and equitable. As you will hear from our speakers, energy efficiency will not only make this transition possible, but can create tremendous benefits for our community in improved health and economic stability. And we continue to work with our partners, many of you in this room, to try and align all of our efforts with the broader goals of community stabilization and anti-displacement. And we especially need to be working harder to ensure that our work is better aligned, that we fit our programs to communities instead of having our communities fit into our programs, and that our work is not undermined by past and current racial and social injustice. I don't have all the answers, but I'm excited to introduce a panel of experts who do have all the answers. So first of all, I want to introduce Eron Riddle.
We really need to layer home repair with home performance. It's pretty well known that attic insulation is one of the most cost-effective ways to help with the home's home performance. This is an example of one of the homes we found in year one. To do the attic insulation, we'd have to adjust the black mold, remove the asbestos and vermiculite, take care of the poor electrical situation, and fix a giant foot-shaped hole in the roof. As an agency, we had to put health and safety prioritized over energy efficiency because we were fixing the black mold or addressing air quality issues or in one case covering on level that was 10 times higher than the safe amount. A $500 repair in 1985, $50,000 repair in 2018.
Next up, we have David Heslam.
When we talk about new construction that's going to be affordable for everyone, we're talking about rental units. And it's going to be very hard to fix those rental units later. We ought to do our very best to make sure those rental units are built as with the maximum levels of efficiency that we can, as quickly as we can. You know, if you're trying to build affordable housing, it's a big challenge for them to try and maximize the energy efficiency of those buildings because that means they have to make an investment up front. That investment up front is probably going to be a much smaller additional expense to sort of build it right the first time than it would be to come back 15 or 20 or 30 years later and try to fix it. And if we're gonna hit these climate goals, we can't really afford to come back 15 or 20 years later to fix it. When we wonder how to try and solve a problem, we often think it's the best way to go talk to the people who have the problem. We kind of heard back from folks that the main concern for them was the total cost of home ownership. You know, they own these buildings for decades. They need to provide that housing as a service. But the entire debate about affordable housing was just how much does it cost to produce the next unit. And they said, if you could try and help change the conversation a little bit to look at the whole life cycle costs of a project, that could help us promote that use of dollars over the life of the building, not just what the next unit is going to cost. There has been a lot of learning over the years, a lot of building science and then applied research that we know how to make buildings really energy efficient now and make them healthier at the same time.
And next up we have Michael Colgrove.
Getting to 100% is going to require a significant combination of renewable energy and energy efficiency. Since our creation back in 2002, Energy Trust, just a few statistics for you real quick, has helped Oregonians save 607 average megawatts of electricity and to generate another 121 average megawatts through renewable energy. We've also helped save about 52 million annual therms of gas. Just to put it in perspective, that's enough electricity to power 564,000 homes and to heat 100,000 homes. Our customers have already saved $2.7 billion on their utility bills, and that is projected to grow to about $6.9 billion over the course of the life of those improvements. A little bit about how we work. We support those customers through basically 4 programs. The vast majority of our work is in efficiency, and really because efficiency is the most cost-effective resource that there is. What we're beginning to learn as a program administrator and beginning to address is the fact that there are different types of ratepayers who may not be participating or benefiting from our programs equally. First and foremost, we've started working with and engaging various community organizations that we've not necessarily traditionally worked with. We want to make sure that their voices and the customers that they represent are present in our programs and in how, particularly in how our programs are designed and then delivered. We're also working with those organizations and the data that we have available from our past program participants to really understand better who is underserved, which customer classes or customer types are actually not benefiting. Because until we really understand that, we won't be able to really address those barriers, those programmatic barriers that Eron alluded to as to why they're not participating. We're starting with the assumption that it's not just low-income customers that we're talking about. That's an important element, obviously, but we are also starting from the assumption that in that underserved group may include communities of color and rural communities. So we're looking at all 3 of those different types of customers to understand better how they are or are not participating in our programs and why.
And last but not least, we have Sherrie Pelsma. We're used to working with people who are not used to having their voices heard. What I hear a lot about these groups of people is that they're too in crisis to care about things like the environment. And I'll tell you that what is actually happening is that equity is a missing piece of the environmental movement. We did focus groups in the summer that lined up with every study I've seen on the topic, and that is that low-income people care more. Women care at higher rates. People of color care more and at higher rates about environmental issues than middle class and upper class white men who seem to get all the credit for environmental movement stuff. And so the question is why are we not engaging our biggest believers, the people who care the most? What's happening there? And we're on a ship and we have to change course. And what we have is this little bitty rudder made up of white, upper middle class people who listen to NPR and have solar panels on their house and ride their bikes and drive a Prius and drink out of reusable jars that are BPA free. I mean, people who are a lot like me. And it's a tiny little rudder. And what we have strapped to the hull of this ship is a massive rudder of everybody else who cares about this topic that we're failing to engage. And in that is people that can take action, political action, environmental action, protest, whatever. We're looking for more people to be involved, and a lot of wisdom as well. These are people that know what the barriers to action are. They know the needs of their communities, and there's a great deal of innovation that's not being tapped. We're failing to engage. Some ways to help engage people that have been left out of the conversation. If the only ways that you can engage people is to ask them for money and to volunteer for you, you need to expand your ways of engaging with community. Our paperwork is minimal. Why use 12 pieces of paper when you can use 1? It's written at a 3rd grade level, and that is not because the people we're working with are like 3rd graders. It's because everybody reads better at a 3rd grade level. If you have a PhD, it's easier to read at a 3rd grade level, so why make it more complicated? So be trusted. Work with groups that have relationships with the communities that you are trying to target. You don't know, that's okay. Talk to people who do. And be adaptable. So if you create a new program, you don't know what you don't know. And you just have to be humble and accept that you don't know. The community may come back to you and say, I know you were really attached to that idea, but maybe we aren't. And if you have an old program, maybe it's time to revisit some of the ways that you're creating barriers to your participants. Just because you've been doing it for a long time is not an excuse to keep doing it that way for all eternity. Be flexible. So we don't make our participants come to us. We get 120 workshops a year, and like 10 of them are at our office.
We go to places where the people we're serving are comfortable, where their children come, where their church group meet, where there are community centers, everything. We don't make people come to our office, navigate like this weird space they're not sure they belong in, and we work evenings and weekends. And within our programs, we work to be flexible. If people can't want to come through in-home weatherization and it's all booked up, we don't have any more slots available, we say, okay, maybe someone can come to a workshop on your behalf. They can just fill out the paperwork on your behalf. They'll sign for you. It's fine with us. You can take a kit home. Like, we try to work around stuff instead of just being so by the book that people can't actually utilize the programs, and be positive. So do participants enjoy interacting with your organization, or don't they? I have to tell people no all the time. I cannot give people what they need all the time, and they still thank me at the end of the conversation. We need to address serious workplace culture issues, and this also goes for people that are already serving lots of low-income people. We need to address compassion fatigue, what kind of attitudes do they have? How do the people in your office talk about the people you serve? Do they say things like needy, crazy, demanding, entitled? Or do they use words like scared, in crisis, upset, having a hard time right now? That is a good indicator that how your office is talking about the people you serve that are in need. It's a really nice thermometer to see if you're running some kind of fever that you need to address. So you need to ask yourself, and not be afraid to ask yourself, are there groups you're missing in serving? We looked at our stuff and said, wow, we're really pretty weak at serving this lot of community. What's up with that? We need to address that. So we made new partnerships. We worked on some new outreach methods. We got a small grant so that we could give our bookkeeper, who speaks Russian, she learned the workshops, and we went out and delivered them to about, I want to say, 50 Russian households or so. So in the end, we sink together or we swim together. We cannot afford to be in this place where this is the group of people that want to be involved and dismiss everybody else who's doing crisis to care. That's not working for us, that's not working for anybody. So keep going. It's hard, but it's really worth the fight. So thank you.
Thank you, Sherrie. I think those words of wisdom can be applied to all of the social service organizations and areas, not just the energy efficiency group, but everyone. Thank you again for coming today, and if you want to follow us, you can always track us at Multnomah County Office of Sustainability website. Yay! Thank you.